Welcome once again, family. Welcome to African time. Welcome to African times. Um, WAFCON 2026, guys. WAFCON 2026. Why Morocco is the right country to host the women's version of the AFCON for 2026. Before you get into it, guys, please like, share, subscribe, do all those good things. Share it to your friends, family, people you know, people you work with, people you might know, people you don't know. You know what I mean? Let's get the African voice out there, guys. Now, let's go. The first point, man. I mean, everybody knows Morocco, you know. Everybody knows Morocco, you know. They have a proven hosting record, you know what I mean. CAF president, Dr. Patrice Motsepe, you know, what he's looking for, he wants to grow Africa. He wants to grow African football, right? He said that in almost every single speech that he's given. And for him to grow African football, you know, he needs coins, he needs money, he needs the money, guys. And Morocco, like it or not, it's proven to give the coins. It's proven to be productive, it's proven to be financially viable, and that's what Motsepe needs at this moment, especially because AFCON is also going to be the main competition, which is AFCON, or the men's versions, the men's football game. AFCON is going to be going from 2 years now to 4 years. So there's a lot of what you call noise. It's getting a lot of noise from the media, from the who's in sports journalists, pundits all over the world. There's a big hoo-ha about that. So he's gonna need money to finance whatever he plans on doing in the future. So he definitely Morocco is gonna give him that. Also reliability. Also want to talk about reliability. Morocco have just hosted the AFCON in January. And besides maybe the final, everything else was perfect. Pitch perfect. You know what I mean? So um, Morocco is it's fairly reliable. If you look around Africa, you'll struggle. I'm not saying there aren't any African countries that can be as reliable, but you'll struggle to find them. Very few. Um, Also, global media coverage. Still, Morocco can give you that. They just proved it now in December, January, and once again, I'm not saying that there's no other countries that can give you great global media coverage, but again, there's very few countries that can do that. Also, speaking one of those few countries, if you looking to see or trying to book your tickets for Morocco this year for the WAFCON, you might have maybe come across something about the WAFCON being moved to South Africa, which is where I am right now. And you might have seen something about South Africa might be hosting the WAFCON, yada yada. But I think there was a premature announcement from the Deputy Minister of Sports in South Africa. So that's not happening. And I think such things. When the Deputy Minister, not even the whole sports minister, but a deputy minister announces something like that prematurely, it tells you something about the country. It tells you something about the leadership of the country. So I think maybe CAF might have looked at that and be like, nah, these ones, they're not ready. So hence again, it should stay in Morocco. Another thing also about Morocco, we all know this. Every sports journalist has written and told everybody about this. World class infrastructure. World class infrastructure. Sorry about that. Um, yeah, man, Morocco. What you call the Prince Mohammed 4 5 Stadium. The one that was recently opened to host the first match, the opening match of the AFCON in December. They're still also busy building other stadium, but Yeah, man, you can go to Rabat, Casablanca. I think it's Tangier. Excuse me. World class, all day, every day. You know what I mean? Um, Even in and around those cities, you can look at the transport networks. I think there's like a rail system to go to any of these stadiums on rail. So if you know anything about rail, it's a lot more affordable. And we are Africans. Coins are a bit of a problem, but so definitely a rail network is welcome anytime. There's also hotels, top class hotels at reasonable prices in and around. Security also, security is also top notch. There weren't any acts of violence that really happened there. Besides the final, because everyone's just gonna be talking about the final, yada yada, the final, yada yada. But the whole tournament, you can't just look at a whole tournament and just base it on the final. Leading up to the final, what was happening in all those 32 matches, 16 matches that happened way before the final. So you have to look at it holistically, and holistically, it was a great success. Take for example, even that final. Let's look at the example of the final. I was listening to Mama Duque on Supersport the other day, and he said something about what had happened when he and what you call Ghana. No. When his national team, Ivory Coast, went to play in Senegal in Dakar. I'm not sure which year, but it was years back. It was years back. So um, maybe things can be different now. But he said, when he was there and the Ivory Coast, the Cote d'Ivoire's team, they scored, I think, in that game, and he was one of the few people in the crowd in the stadium that was actually wearing his apparel, so his Ivory Coast t-shirts and all that stuff, regalia, and the Senegalese fans, were pissed, literally, he said actually they throw him with water and piss, he said he had piss all over him. They were angry. He had to actually finish watching the game at his hotel, you know what I mean? So, and he said something, that had the same thing happened that happened in the final, and it was against the home team, but then the home team was not the Moroccan home team. It was maybe, for example, sorry, I'm just gonna it's just an example. In Senegal, things could have ended very differently. There some people could have left in body bags. You know what I mean? So, security, and that did not happen in Morocco. In fact, after the whole hoo-ha of the final happened, when people were leaving the stadium, you know, they all had what you call quads, and everyone was just having a good time. They all sat, and everyone had moved on. Even the Moroccan fans reportedly, were obviously they were not happy about the thing, but then it wasn't now we're gonna beat every Senegalese fan up. No, there was nothing like that. So certainly, if the same thing had happened to another African country, not all, but certainly most, things could have been very different. So yeah, Morocco has security for days, stable for days. Also financial stability, financial stability. CAF right now needs money. Same thing. I'm gonna say it again. Dr. Pettis Motsepe has constantly said, he wants to grow African football, but to grow African football, you need money. And CAF at this moment and this juncture, it needs financially secure environments. And because once again, because they're transitioning from the 2-year AFCON to a 4-year AFCON, and in between that there's gonna be the Nations League, the African Nations League. So all these tournaments are gonna need money. So at the moment, what CAF needs more than anything, it's money. And yeah, man, Morocco is definitely gonna give you a financially secure environment. Also, there's no risks, there's no financial risk, with Morocco, because the stadiums are already there, or stadia, as they say. There's stadiums already there. Everything is already there. Infrastructure is already there. It was used right now in January, so everything is can, is up and running as is. And I think the WAFCON is in with a few months. So certainly, it's just plug and play. More money, and what this also need, what having the Morocco host the WAFCON. It's also gonna boost African women's African football. It's also gonna boost women's football in Africa, because right now, women's football, it's on an upward trajectory, and having it in Morocco, it's just gonna keep on adding momentum to that trajectory, that plane, just gonna be keep on moving upwards and upward and upward and upward, and the best way to boost momentum, it's consistency, as I said, consistency is key. And at the moment, Kev cannot really afford to take any risks, because of the different what they're planning to do in future. So they need to be as consistent as ever, you know what I mean? And Morocco is gonna give you that. But anyways, guys, please leave your thoughts, comments in the what you call this thing. Where you write there, I want to see your comments there. What you guys think? What you guys have to say about African football? What do you guys think of Morocco hosting the WAFCON in 2026? If not Morocco, where would you have it, and why? Peace.